long last, welcome to the first episode in a while of Halo Infinite's BattleNet. Now, although Infinite itself doesn't have much to report, it's the first update I've been able to cover, so I'll be covering it. We've got bunny ears, cotton candy grenades, and cotton candy armor coatings. The banana bombshell set, which is just basically banana coloring for vehicles. Not sure why anybody would want banana coloring, but there are actual clowns out there, so who knows. Other than that, we've got the event with by far some of the worst game modes that I've ever seen in an event, even worse than the last Spartan Standing, but I'll get into that in a bit. Okay, so that's the events workup weekly for the day, and that's almost everything except for what's in the Yappening playlist. Big Team Fiesta, which is probably the only decent game mode in the whole playlist. Fiesta Stockpile, Total Control Fiesta, not sure exactly what Total Control is supposed to be, and probably what I consider the worst game mode ever outside of free-for-all, Shoddy Snipers. Now, as far as the reason why I consider it the worst ever, I'm going to point out that for whatever reason, no matter what game I play, I'm pretty decent crack shot when it comes to precision weapons, except for sniper weapons. The one exception was a sniper weapon in Destiny 1 that did not have a sniper scope. It was basically an iron sight, but then you could add some item that are basically a short range scope for like an assault rifle, like a red dot sight or something. Forget what it was. And I was able to use it just like any other weapon, precision based weapon, and there was another exception when I took a sniper rifle in Brothers 2 or something like that, where you play as mercenaries, and yeah, I could attach a standard short range scope or red dot sight to the sniper rifles there, so I did, and I was a pretty decent crack shot with that too, which suggests to me that my issue is not the weapon itself, it's my ability to utilize the increased magnification that sniper rifles have. Now, interesting enough, I'm able to use just about the same accuracy at just about any range in video games, regardless. Although I may have to crouch or be stationary to shoot long distances with those particular scopes, I was still able to do it with accuracy. Relatively decent accuracy, I should say. But you give me a standard sniper scope on a sniper, and unless the station, unless it's a vehicle, a large vehicle, preferably, I can basically hit a warthog. I have trouble hitting the mongooses. I can't hit people. Of course, this is all following the concept of everybody in motion. If they're stationary, I have no problem shooting them in the head or taking them out, hitting them, whatever. But if they're moving, well, let's just say I'm slightly better than red versus blue. What was it? Church? The one that only managed the ricochet, the meta, and the foot during one of the episodes, and the only time he succeeded in hitting some kind of sniper. It's been a while since I've seen that season. I'm only slightly better than that. It's a 50-50 chance I'll even hit a human-shaped target that's moving. And 90% of that will be guaranteed body shot. Or arm or leg. Hand or foot. But definitely not a head. I've almost never hit a moving target with a head. Well, there's been a couple times when they've been running in a straight enough line in my direction or away from me that I've been able to pull it off, but I definitely haven't been able to pull off quick scopes or no scopes with sniper rifles either. I think the quick scope and no scope aspect is mainly because the way the weapons are held in the animations and the longer barrel throws my perception of targeting off. But then again, this is a person with Asperger's trying to understand their own issues, so. Socket snipers, which I will be the first to admit, I have no clue what the hell that is. And team snipers, which I will say is pretty much up there with shoddy snipe. Yeah, that's this event in a nutshell. Now on to a little bit of the rant stage. So, recently I got back into Destiny 2. Which, for reasons I will be going into in a moment, or possibly in another video, I enjoy Destiny 2 much better, although its biggest glaring flaws that still remain to this day are the insane price tags on the expansion packs. Because honestly, the way they set up the expansion packs, you can't really enjoy the game unless you have them. And the battle passes, which honestly I feel like they should either be making you pay for either the battle pass or the expansion packs, not both. Especially when each expansion pack's going for the same price as a brand new game. base game, but yes. That means 50 to 60 bucks for those who are not really paying attention to that stuff. And I might add, it's not beneficial to buy base games anymore because you're paying more money buying the DLCs individually instead of bundled when you buy the base game by roughly 30 to 40% more. So, excuse me. So, word of advice, buy the deluxe editions, the complete editions, the whatever comes with the content passes, the season passes, the annual passes, whatever you want to call them, that has all that DLC stuff. And if the game itself doesn't come with that, or there's more after that, always get those instead of the individual DLCs. On a side note, some people consider DLCs a money scam. Yes and no. Games take a lot of time to produce and test thoroughly. DLCs are a balancing act between essentially gambling for more time on later in-game content being developed and tested. Well, developed by developed I mean polished up, fine-tuned, graphical polish, whatever. Not quite ready yet, but they've got enough of the game to release, and it's stable enough. However, many companies have unfortunately been neglectful on getting the initial base structure fine-tuned, polished, and bug-tested adequate enough to even be considered a game. Unfortunately, Halo Infinite is still in that state 2 seasons in, where it is basically a game preview because they did not do enough for the initial base to consider a even base game release, because they did not fine-tune enough, they did not polish enough, and they did not bug test and bug fix or hot patch or whatever you want to phrase it, whatever, enough before release. Now, recently they announced that there will be no couch co-op at all. Right now, the only PvE, which honestly, cooperative PvE aspects are what I enjoy most in the gaming community, because I'm a social gamer. I don't much care for PvP or player versus player, which is right now all Infinite has, unless of course you count the campaign, but that's right now a one and done thing because there's no co-op and there's no mission playability. And even then, it's questionable whether it'll still be worth noting or replaying once they add mission replay and co-op, even though they're only adding network co-op. Now, a good way to fix that, of course, was seen in previous Halos. Firefight, Warzone, Firefight, and Spartan Ops all solved that particular issue. And not to mention, Spartan Ops had the most story integration for a PvE co-op experience. Compared to the story narratives that they currently have and Infinite, which are shoddy at best and don't even have anything but, oh, the story is a cutscene. Go wild. It's kind of sad. Destiny, or Bungie with Destiny 2, had that model when they went from a more MMO from RPG and introduced their Battle Pass / Season Passes. Now they no longer do that. They integrate more heavy stories. And they even brought back the ability to experience previous seasons' content with the release of Witch Queen. Only 4 seasons, granted, and right now, unless you buy the more expensive expansion of the deluxe version for Witch Queen, there's no way to buy the past seasons other than the active season. So there is that. However, it is still an improvement. On top of that, Destiny has seen many improvements that, even though there's some issues with sunsetting, because a lot of the sunsetted weapons were unique enough that they should be considered exotics, but weren't. They were legendaries. For example, the Oxygen SR3 had a unique perk that went with Firefly, that, in addition to the Firefly mod, which increased the damage inflicted by Firefly's splash damage explosion. The unique perk that the Oxygen had enhanced the radius of the Firefly, essentially doubling it and tripling it when you manage to precision kill a boss or major enemy. There is no weapons that have that perk at the moment, and it was the only one to ever have that perk. Not to mention, it was a challenge weapon. You had to complete a triumph / challenge, which was a series of long, arduous tasks to get it. Equivalent to exotic weapons quest for legendary. On top of that, they have sunsetted the original class swords, which is both major downsides to the sunsetting program, because they haven't brought that back. They have, however, begun integrating weapon crafting. Not all weapons are available for crafting since they sunsetted, but all newer ones going forward are, starting with Witch Queen's seasonal weapons and the 30th anniversary pack, which the anniversary pack's mode, which is free, sort of free to play, sort of not. Dares of Eternity is by far the most interesting PvP aspect of it all. It's basically like a raid mixed with Prison of Elders from Destiny 1, or a combination of Wheel of Fortune and American Ninja. Although the other biggest different issue is every season, every 100-something days, you have to start from scratch, basically with your weapons and armor, because there's not enough infusion materials to go around in the increase in power level per season. However, with the introduction of weapon crafting, are weapon shaping, as it's officially called, and the introduction of custom universal ornaments, it's been alleviated a bit. However, the biggest problem with shaped weapons at the moment is they still rely entirely on infusing, and they are generally significantly lower than your power level. So far, I find myself at the lowest entry tier of pinnacle gear. That's 1550, 1570, 1580, somewhere around there. Any weapons I shape right now start out at 1350. That's a significant drop trying to equip them to level them up. However, an easy enough fix would be to basically have their damage scale based off of level. Every level increase the damage they do by 5. So they grow as they level, not just their perks, but their damage they can do. Of course, biggest thing is, as far as I can tell, they have no actual level cap. They'll continue leveling indefinitely. To balance this out, they would basically have to soft cap the damage output they can do based upon the certain season's current pinnacle, but also have it to where when the next season starts, they'll automatically have that soft cap removed, so that if you get it to a high enough level, they'll already be pre-pinnacled. This would balance it out and make it so the only weapons that you would have to worry about, or gear that you'd have to start from scratch, would be your armor and the exotics. Now, one thing I would note is to be able to masterwork everything, takes up a lot of resources. You should be able to dismantle a masterworked armor piece, or weapon, or ghost shell, and get half of everything, and I mean everything, you invested into it back. Half the glimmer, upgrade modules, the prisms, the ascendant shards, all that. Those two would balance out and make those two factors would balance out that particular issue, coupled with balancing out and adjusting the prices. Sorry, cell phone in the background. Price issues on the expansion packs / battle passes, and Destiny would be completely, utterly playable once again. Something it hasn't really been since, and on all honesty, since the original Destiny 1. Although the base Destiny 2 was decent, it just was bogged down by many of the same issues that are still present today. They're making progress on them, but they have added some more issues on the line. Now again, Destiny has the better, in general, emphasis on PvE, while as currently Infinite has the better emphasis on PvP. Now, this is from a design standpoint on where they're focusing their resources and development into the quality of the categories. Halo R343 has even publicly declared that they're designing Halo primarily, solely, or primarily emphasizing the ability to do pro gaming. In other words, esports. So yes, they've admitted that they're focusing and throwing pretty much all of their resources in Infinite into PvP. I don't mind occasional PvP. Granted, I don't particularly enjoy it, especially solo. Now, playing with friends, goofing around, while winning on top of goofing around, that is more my speed when it comes to PvP. Again, I'm a social gamer. Bouncing a grenade off of an enemy's visor, and your friend bouncing a frag grenade off the enemy Spartan's visor and it flying in your face and blowing you up, that's hilarious. Maybe not at the time, maybe not if you're playing too seriously, but it is hilarious as an afterthought or when you're just having fun. And it is something that is only hilarious in virtual reality and in co-op style games. If your friend blows you up in real life by bouncing off a grenade off of an enemy, you're dead. The end. It's not funny for you. Definitely not funny for anybody else. It's nothing but tragic. Maybe the enemy will find it funny. But that is one of the major attractions to virtual reality, or at least my major attraction to video games. Other than the fact that I love to create the ideal version of myself and insert them into these other realities, these other worlds. Hence the reason why I'm so big on customizing a character to make him my ideal self. The more customization, not just simple armor customization, mind you, but voice, gender, maybe what's under the helmet, even armament. The more there is of that, the more I tend to be inclined to enjoy it. Hence the reason why I enjoyed the loadout weapons in Halo 5 and the loadouts in Halo 4. Of course, I also enjoyed the integrated ability to dodge in Halo 5 as well. Shoulder charge was iffy. The ability to hover and shoot was a little iffy. Ground pound was a little iffy. But that it was an option seemed more immersive than what they did with Infinite regarding removing all that. From a developer standpoint, for arena-based esport, I get it. From a casual gamer design, not so much. Well, I think I've done enough ranting for the end of this episode. I may or may not do a comparison going in more detail when comparing Halo Infinite versus Destiny 2. There are a lot of similarities with them to cover under comparing, though, and differences in those similarities that are worth viewing or going into detail in the future. But as of right now, I have no plans to. Definite plans, I should say. Until next time, everybody, this has been the latest episode of Halo Infinite BattleNet, and we'll see you next time.